The man outside my window. I have been told I'm a bit of a superstitious, but this was the day I started to believe it. It was around 0:30 a.m. I had just gotten off of work. It was a particularly hard day for me due to not being able to sleep. I have insomnia. Some nights I only get about 2 hours of sleep. I have tried all the medications and at-home remedies, but nothing seems to be working. Tonight was different though. When I pulled into the driveway, it was very dark, darker than usual. The summer night was cold. It smelled of a fire, but there was no sound of anyone enjoying the night surrounded by friends around a campfire, or even a sound at all. I remembered that so well. It was absolutely silent. I know it was late, but I could hear my own heartbeat pounding through my ears. It was so quiet. When I got into my house, it was freezing cold. I had wondered if I had left the air conditioning on, but even if I had, it was too cold for even that to be a reasonable explanation. I went up to my room and immediately put a jacket on. I lived alone. I never fancied having roommates or family live with me. I liked my peace and quiet. No couples fighting in the middle of the night, and no family waking me up for morning coffee. No awkward conversations of how was your day or you left some dishes in the sink. I did have a cat though. He has been my best friend for years. He is a very kind, loving cat. He is always excited to see me when I get home from the night shifts, but tonight he didn't greet me at the door like he does almost every night. I looked around my apartment for him, and after about half an hour of looking under couches and coffee tables, I found him, hiding behind the small toilet in the bathroom. I tried to gently get him out, but he scratched me, drew blood even. He had never in the 3 years of having him ever scratched me. He let out this awful hiss that I had never heard him do before. I decided to just let him be, and eventually he would come out. I went back to my room and started getting ready for bed when I heard a strange sound. It was the sound of someone outside my window. My curtains were closed, but I could hear someone shouting hello. I froze for a moment, listening to the sound of what sounded like a man. After I had a moment to collect my thoughts, I quickly turned off my lights and got down behind the window. I was terrified. What kind of a person would be out this late, and why was he shouting at me through my window? I decided to take a look at this strange man. I slowly crept my head up as slow as I could and drew back the curtain only about an inch, so that even if he hadn't noticed me hurry and turn the light off that he wouldn't see me. For a moment I thought maybe I was being paranoid and that he was speaking to someone outside, but I remembered how late it was and how there was not a single soul awake on my street right now, and if there was someone up, they wouldn't be screaming at each other from far away. So, I looked. This man was about 6 feet tall. I could just see the outline of him, but he looked so well put together. His hair was shining in the reflection of the street lamp. It was so sleek and shiny, almost greasy looking. His face wasn't well lit, but his smile was abnormal long, and his teeth were so white. His teeth looked fake, like he had gotten a bad veneer job or something. He was wearing a dark suit. He kept shouting hello over and over again. With each phrase was about a 5-second pause. But every word sounded the exact same, like he was on repeat. But the worst part was, he was waving directly at me. With every hello he waved. His hands were too large for his long, skinny arms. He looked odd. He had an unproportioned body. I watched him for what felt like 10 minutes. I could feel the sweat rolling down my face. I was terrified. I couldn't move. I finally got the courage to kneel. I didn't want to take my eyes off of him, but I knew that I needed to do something. I had left my phone on the bed. Something was telling me to not take my eyes off of this man, but I needed to do something. Anything. As fast as I could, I jumped to my bed and grabbed my phone. I started to unlock my phone and dial 911, but I realized it had gotten quiet. I could no longer hear the strange hello. I ran to the window and he was gone. That's when I could hear loud thumping, like running for your life up the stairs. The most unhuman sounding of running. I could hear my cat start hissing and growling at the presence of what was out there. Then I heard the sound of cracking bones and blood curdling from my poor cat. I could hear the sound of his life coming out of my cat's body. I shouted to the man, please stop, while pushing my face against my door with tears running down my face. The quietest of whispers spoke back to me after about 30 seconds. Hello. Even though he was on the other side of the door. I could picture his awful smile with his face pushed up against mine with only an inch thick door stopping us from meeting face to face. I started breathing heavily and asked him why. I could hear his breath against the door. Suddenly he started banging his fist against the door, screaming, "Hello, hello." I ran back to the window and went into the fetal position covering my ears. I was rocking back and forth for what felt like an eternity. I was so panicked and scared that I hadn't realized it was quiet. I stayed there until I could see the morning light just to make sure he had actually left and wasn't sitting there waiting for me the whole night. I got up slowly. I could feel how swollen my eyes were and could barely breathe for all the congestion from crying the whole night. I went to the door to listen for any sound or movement. I couldn't hear anything, so I opened the door with caution. Max, my cat, was sitting there licking his paw waiting for me. He got up and rubbed his side against me so calmly. I cried with joy and picked him up to give him all the love I had in me. I don't know exactly why all this happened to me or why. I know it was real. I know this really did happen. I haven't told anyone this in fear of getting sent away.
Do you have eyes? I live in a pretty secluded area. Negbuyowers are far away from each other, with wasteland in between. To be exact, I live in a village. So it's pretty normal for people to have their own vast areas of land. Now I work from home, so unless I need to buy groceries and some small stuff, I don't have to go to town. Then one day I had some groceries to do. I had to do a money transaction with my mom for something urgent, and in that evening I had a little party with my friends to celebrate one of my friends' birthdays. When I was on my way back, it was getting dark. I've actually never had to travel when it's dark outside since I moved here, so I was kind of freaked out. As I came near the board at the entry of my village, I began to feel so uncomfortable, and I felt like something or someone was keeping an eye on me. Until my village, there were big light poles beside the road frequently since it was the highway. But in my village, there weren't many light poles, and the ones that were there were situated very far from each other. So the road in the middle only lights up with my flashlights. For some reason, I turned down my radio. I wanted to be as quiet as possible and not let someone know that I'm there. I was creeped out so much at that point. I kept driving, and I saw some lights around 500 meters away from where I was. It was a light pole. As I am approaching the 200-meter light pole, I can clearly see someone standing beside it. Whoever was standing beside the lighthouse was a little bit taller than usual, a little hunched and still as a statue, to the point where I started to wonder if there was a statue there before that I didn't notice. But around 50 meters away from the light pole, the man raised his long arm as if in a way to stop my car. But I was so scared that I didn't dare to stop for whomever that was, because I felt like whoever that was didn't mean any good. I sped to my house without looking back and pulled into my driveway. I don't have a gate. This area is a low crime area. I have to walk around 700 meters through my property to reach my house. I drove even faster and got to my garage. The problem was that I had to go one step further and manually open the garage door. But I was too afraid to be doing that all by myself in this darkness, so I reversed the car and drove right in front of my door, dashed out of the car, opened the door, got in and closed it so fast. I think I did all this in under a minute. I don't have to use any keys. My door has fingerprint options. At that point, I was out of breath. Ran around the house, checked all the doors and windows, ran upstairs, checked all the upstairs windows, drew all the blinds close, locked all the doors to every room, and put all those keys in my pocket. I didn't even spend around 5 minutes from the moment I parked my car to do all these. Once I am heading down the stairs, I had a knocking on my front door. I did not have the courage to answer it. I scrunched down with the flashlight on the kitchen counter, 2 big knives, my gun under the sink, a water bottle, a lighter, and a candle. I turned all the lights dimmer, even though with my thick curtains, no one could see inside or whether the lights were on or not. All the while the knocking was still going on. It was like knock knock, pause, knock knock knock, pause, knock knock, pause, knock knock knock, pause. I slowly got to the stairs, and when I got upstairs, I got into my attic and closed the door. I have a small mattress, a blanket and a pillow in there. There is a small round window in my attic from which I could see my driveway and the garden in front of my house. Currently, I'm sitting there and peeking from there to get a glimpse of whomever was knocking on my front door. I see some movements, and I think the knocker must have gotten exhausted knocking on my door. The thing that I saw on the road looked exactly the same as the knocker. Did he? No. Did it follow me all the way here? Oh, why did it stop? It saw me. It looked right into my eyes, but it has no eyes. It's running my way. I think it is climbing up the wall. I can hear screeching sounds. It's near the attic window, looking right into my eyes like it wants them to fill its red, bleeding holes in the middle of its face.